Good morning, everyone, and good evening, excuse me, everyone, and happy Monday. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Shelley Ensor, and I am just filling in tonight for my dear friend Leah Gilmore. I've been doing for the last couple of days what I know you've all been doing, and that's sending up prayers, healing prayers for Leah, because we know that when the prayers go up, the blessings come down. So at this time, before we get started, I am going to hand it over to Pastor Tom, and he is going to say a prayer.
Thank you, Shelley. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Harris. I'm the pastor at Govans Presbyterian. And this isn't usually a prayer time. It's not a prayer service. But as Shelley was saying, our mutual dear friend for everybody on this call, Leah, and maybe there's some folks on this call who don't know Leah, who are just connected here for Sharrif. But Leah is the Minister of Racial Justice and Multicultural Engagement at Govans Presbyterian. She's our first service music director and the founder of Music Monday, which is really becoming quite a thing. Leah, Wednesday evening, had a stroke. She is still hospitalized with that, hoping to be transferred to rehab tonight. She has significant weakness in her right side. She can walk a little bit and is expected to make a pretty good recovery, but it's going to be a bit of a haul for her over the next month or so. So we did want to take time because there's so many people on this call who love her and who have felt loved by her that we to say a prayer for her. So I invite you just to take a deep breath, and if you do know Leah, to think of all that love that she's made you feel, the love that she's offered to you over the time that you've known her, and then to send that love back to her through the earth, through the internet, through space and time, however you want to do that. Your love, your positive energy, your peace, and your healing. And in the Christian tradition, we will offer this prayer to God. Holy God, we give you thanks for this night, and we give you thanks for Leah and all that she means to us. We know that she is in a difficult time right now. She's hurting. She wants to be able to do more than she can, than her body's letting her do. And she probably has some fear and at the same time, some hopefulness of how things are going to go, feeling it all at the same time. We send all our love to her. We ask your spirit of healing to be at work within her body. We pray that her strength returns to her arm, that her speech continues to improve. She's able to articulate exactly what she wants to say and how she wants to say it, that she will be singing again soon, that her right leg will be stronger, that everything will be restored to her body. She will be well and she will be whole.
Yes.
Help her to know that we love her very much, that there are so many people sending love and prayers to her. And we ask these same blessings, all these blessings for her family, for Jonathan and Gabriel and the whole family, and for all who love her. And now let us enjoy the kind of music and poetry and art that she has enabled us to come together to enjoy on these evenings with Sharrif. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Tom. At this point, I'm going to pass the baton over to the extraordinary Maria Wong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Wong, and I am a member of Govans Presbyterian Church. I also work for the nonprofit arts organization Common Ground on the Hill, which is underwriting support for Govans Music Monday performers. We are recording tonight's program as part of our work as a Maryland Folklife Center of the Maryland State Arts Council. The video will be archived on the Common Ground on the Hill official YouTube channel, where you can find other Govans Music Monday programs and many other videos. While you're on YouTube, also check out the Govans Presbyterian Church YouTube channel, which includes recordings with sermons and the Govans Racial Justice Speaker Series. There is a lot of great stuff out there, so please take a look. And Shelley, back to you.
Thank you, Maria. Tonight's artist is Sharrif Simmons. Sharrif Simmons is a performance artist, author, songwriter, musician, poet, and arts educator. His writing career spans 3 decades. He became a staple of New York's cultural renaissance in the 1990s. In 2005, he became a deaf poet on season 5 of HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam. Sharrif is often referred to as his generation's Gil Scott Heron. His musical influences range from Richie Havens, Bill Withers, Bob Marley, and Jimi Hendrix to Rage Against the Machine, Parliament Funkadelic, Old Dirty Bastard, and Biggie Smalls. He's toured Europe and the United States playing poetry and music for college campuses, festivals, and spoken word conferences. Sharif's latest collection of poetry, Poetic Thoughts Spoken Directly, is available on Amazon.com. He's been recognized for his musical contributions to the soundtrack of 4-time Emmy-winning documentary, Thornton Dial Has Something to Say. The Birmingham Civil Rights Institute commissioned him in 2008 for their human rights exhibit, where he helped design and program a permanent exhibition featuring a video performance of his human rights poem, Walk With Me. Sharrif also founded the Birmingham Arts and Music Festival. So please get your ears ready to hear the music and poetry stylings of Sharrif Simmons.
Thank you very much. That was a very warm introduction. Hoping everyone can hear me and all that is clear, and good deal, thumbs up. Hello to all. First and foremost, I'm definitely sending prayers to Leah, who I haven't met in person, but we had one conversation and I love her already. She's got an incredible spirit, and I know it's going to shine through this. This too shall pass, and I'm wishing her the best with that. I am currently broadcasting live from Rock Mill Salon. It's a performance space here up in Harlem that is provided by a good friend, Brother Milton Washington, who has a great vision, not only in fitness, but also in a variety of other outlets in the process of cannabis consumption, cannabis for healing, things of that nature. So we're here at Rock Mill Studio up on 154th Street in Harlem. So I'm proud to be here doing that. We're going to have programming here, and this is the first gig for me of this year. Having said that, I'd like to introduce you to a little bit of my work and the history around that. So my background immediately, my most closest life movements involve me moving back to Harlem. So I've come from San Diego just in time for the first blizzard to bury my car and for me to say all kinds of bad words that I'm not going to repeat here. But I did make it back to Harlem, and to give you some perspective, I'm actually moved back into the apartment I lived in 30 years ago. So like my bed is literally right where it was 30 years ago. And I say that to say that this book, Fast Cities and Objects That Burn, was written on that very bed 30 years ago, right? All the thoughts and the things that were happening there. This book, Fast Cities and Objects That Burn, was my first publication, and I'm reissuing it on my own imprint. It was initially on More Black Press, but now it will be on my own imprint that is coming shortly. And it was mentioned that I have another book here, Poetic Thoughts Spoken Directly. It's not actually on Amazon, unfortunately, but it will be shortly. But you can go to my webpage, www.SharrifSimmons.com, and I'll be reading from both of these books this evening and playing some music. So to give you some background on Fast Cities and Objects That Burn, it was inspired by the LA rebellion that resulted from the Rodney King verdict. That particular time, that was exactly 30 years ago this year, so that was 1992, is when I began to write and think about poetry in a creative and conscious way. And in that way, I would like to say, you know, that radicalized me. It made me aware of a world that was fundamentally unjust, and that there were two sets of laws and dynamics involved with culture, and particularly being Black in America. I was raised I was born in New York, but I was raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and I lived there most of my childhood, and I came back in the early 80s. I have a book coming out shortly, a memoir that will cover a little bit more of that. But we have a little hour together, so there'll be a lot of time for question and answers and all, and I'd like to get started on reading some excerpts of my poetry. And I thought the first poem I would read was the first poem from this book, Fast Cities and Objects That Burn. And we'll go into some more detail as we go along. And then after that, I'll start with my guitar. This poem is called the title poem, Fast Cities and Objects That Burn. Run past your first impulse to stop and make a wish to clear your act and approach a hot city with dying figures of what it all should be. Blue-shaped pain in a what the hell type of mindset, spelling snap and crack with petrified wood vibrations and good covers in a fast city that shits out pure pounds of wicked beatdown blues in a chorus of voices and objects that burn. Have you seen those packed seconds passing through the hours in the days of quick change and outrage, like the feelings of lost power behind walls where papers signed in triplicate are making simple advances toward masquerading hunger? A heartbeat passed through games and hardcore signs of the buy now flash and some cash you can see made in the quick nights of endless days of plans that splash through a fast city, growing and building and making objects that burn as a no-wait haste hits the plate of taste in your mouth and your fingers move to fill you and yours with that sunshine feeling of it's not mine and it ain't yours. Can you catch that and turn it around in these fast cities, pressed into the fire drum, screaming, answer me now or get popped and watch your ass in a fast city, yelling graveyards and slow death lives and objects that burn? I'm going to return back to the book in a bit and a couple of other pieces that are in the poem, that are in the book I'll do on guitar. This piece is called Musical Revolutions, and as Shelley mentioned earlier in my bio, I was deeply influenced by Gil Scott-Heron, of course, and Richie Havens, and music in general was a big part of my life. I used to break dance back in the day, which I think everybody did growing up, and I'm just always inspired by sound and movement. When I was in Ethiopia, I danced a lot to the music that was being sent to us, Rufus and Shaka Khan and the Commodores and, Stevie Wonder's songs in the key of life, all of that. And so when I got inspired to write poetry, I began to incorporate music with it. So I'll do a couple of pieces for you now. This piece is called Musical Revolutions. Feel it when it happens, a sort of depression in the hidden places when conjured up thoughts become larger than outside echoes. The wind is almost always blowing and almost leaves room for other musical beats. A world piece of Masekela leaves the door open for burning beat drums, occupied with little else than channeling these messages to you. Music in its evolving state, a mix of revolutions, spinning at 33, split threes attached in different directions, make the heavy eight split like 4 to the floor, at the core of the present illusion. Musical revolution spin, tipped over the wax and spins in circles, large enough to catch the next generation who've been cast into the fear of life without listening to love-making music. Then making love, making music, Adobo the pepper funk and join the band to never ignore what people say. Yes, speech was sent to them by those same angels who brought you brick, slave, and mandrill. Those same angels who brought you little blind wonders, little Miss Ripperton, chic, sweet taste of honey breathing, blood pressure and brainy voodoo children with machine guns. Those voodoo children with machine guns. Those same angels who let poems long forgotten be rewritten, retitled, re-understood, regurgitated like bird food for the youth. This musical revolution is attached to anything uncertain. Camouflage from greed, shooting bandits left stranded over the jaded rocks under Glory Island. And I suppose there won't be any more heroes for our seedlings. No more music with 8,000 meanings. Behave, you souls. Music lives in revolutions. You'll feel it when it happens. Many doors open leading to rumble chambers. Keep tossing your pebbles in the still waters. You'll see the spiral ripples spread like sound waves. From bebop to hip hop to roots pop. From bebop to hip hop to roots pop. From bebop to hip hop to roots pop to musical revolutions. You will feel it when it happens. A sort of depression in the hidden places. Those same angels who brought you the beginnings now bring you the change. Now bring you the change. Now bring you the change. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. The universal clap for the Zoom call right there. Appreciate it. Music and poetry has been the way I express myself over a period of time, and shout outs to all my folks on Facebook tuning in. I appreciate that. And this piece is a piece I wrote that travels around the world. It's called She Was. The task began at midnight. She was from La República Dominicana. He was from Mount Vernon. The differences followed them with broken bottles. Love was the credo that broke his mind. She was like my sister, he repeated to me. She was like my sister. I met the better half of sweetness a little after 10:30. She was a friend of a friend, a pearl between two ruby glasses. Her aunt called her molasses. I only knew her as a part of me. She touched the inside of me where my decisions lay. Our impulses met, we danced all day. Her mother has been from Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire. Her father has been from Madagascar, Martinique, Puerto Rico, or Tennessee. She's everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love the melodies of plum wine. She's everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love the melodies of plum wine. And she was, and she was, and she was. An American passport, a citizen of vineyards and bloody valentines. My first kiss was laced with cane sugar. I was 10, she was 13. I was 11, she was 14. We touched hearts and burnt honey kisses. Her mother has been from Westbury, Birmingham, or Paris, Bon Black, Les Ulibas. Citizens of vineyards and arcades enter her at 17. I was man to her at 18. She was a woman to me. We kissed on a Caribbean island. She placed her mother's necklace across my neck. I placed my breath between her bodies. She was everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love these melodies. She was everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love these melodies of plum wine. And she was, and she was, and she was, and she finally grew higher than the bushes so I could see her face. We were raised across the street from each other's midnight whippings and family reunions. I flew out of her world, hovered above the pyramids, Drank coffee as a child in European centerpieces. Begged for sugar after 10 duty spices. Returned to find her fully grown and holding me for miles of interest. My stories tickled her like a feather. When she laughed, I was stripped of all my senses. My first taste of love was my last taste of innocence. Mother has been from Brooklyn, Iran, Iraq, or Tennessee. Her father has been from Madagascar, Puerto Rico, Martinique, or Alys. She is everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love the melodies of plum wine. And she's everyone who's ever come to me. People in love, see, we love the melody of plum wine. Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying it so far. I've been having a good time sharing this work. So I've got a lot of plans for this coming year. I want to wish everyone a happy new year and all that. We're still kind of in that phase of making plans and seeing what's going on. Just finally made it to the gym again today. So like that's a good start. All that good stuff. So Poetic Thought Spoken Directly was a chapbook that I put together when I was in Holland. I was back and forth in Amsterdam. Been fortunate to travel around and share my work around the world, actually. So this piece I put together while I was there. And again, it's available at my webpage. Or if you want it, you could inbox me at SharrifSimmons at yahoo.com. I'll share some more of that information in the chat maybe towards the end. But, you know, this was inspired by a lot of things that were happening at the time. This piece called The Melting Pot was inspired by a documentary that I saw about Toni Morrison, and she talked a bit about the idea of home and where we find home and the idea of migrating and blending in and what America's melting pot turned out to be. It's called The Melting Pot. Tired, weak, weary, they came. Ribs bare, bones displayed, children crying with hunger, they came. Greeted by hungry patriots, the gangs of New York. A magnificent hatred, afraid of change, calling for conformity. A pledge of allegiance, stars and bars colored red, white, and blue. Yugoslavia, Slovenia, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Spain, Scotland, Ireland, France, Poland, and Sicily. Ellis Island, the foot of liberty. Time would welcome the new immigrant song. Divided, they melted into the great American theme, weaponized whiteness. They would all come to agree, if anything else, we will never have to be black. Something to think about right there. I mentioned that Gil Scott-Heron is a big influence on me amongst all the poets of that time. Abiodun Oyewole, the last poets, Umar bin Hassan, Sonia Sanchez in particular was a huge influence. The book Homegirls and Hand Grenades, I heard her reading from that at the Schomburg right here in Harlem on 135th Street. And that changed my life, actually. I realized you can actually write things and read them to people, and they would be receptive to it, and that inspired me a lot. My aunt Una Mulzac, it's my grandaunt, my grandmother's sister, had Liberation Bookstore here in Harlem. And in my bio, every once in a while, I'll say I went to U.C.LA, but I'm meaning the university on the corner of Lenox Avenue, right? That was Liberation Bookstore. That was our version of U.C.LA, right? University on the corner of Lenox Ave. And ironically, I'm right back there again in that same university and learning and being inspired by the same environment. So I'm really grateful to be home and grateful to be sharing this work with y'all tonight. And again, I want to wish Leah really the best and the speedy recovery. Absolutely. But bringing Gil Scott-Heron to the forefront is I'm working on a piece that will soon be going up as I'm developing it, and it's a tribute to his spirit. The continuity of what he was struggling with back then is now still in the forefront. When I span and look at the time of from Rodney King to George Floyd, you know, when the debate is, are we making progress? Are we doing that? And where are we with things? It's all subjective to other people's various experiences. But what I will say in that arc of the story, Rodney King actually got to live, right? George Floyd lost his life. So in comparison to progress, one has to make an assessment of the value of life. It seems to unfortunately be, to be still subject to debate. The fact that we're even having a conversation on the value of that is surreal to me. We're also living in a time where history is being challenged and the very memory process is under siege of what we're going to describe and what we pass on to the children. So to me, this is a call to arms now to record our history, celebrate it, define it, because it's trying to be redefined for us and for a large part of our community. Having said that, I'm going to read a poem that I rewrote in tribute to Gil Scott. It's a contemporary version of his piece, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. This piece is called The Revolution Will Not Be Socialized. You could probably do the math on where I'm coming from with that. And here is some strong language, but I'll try to refrain from getting too specific. And I should have bought my glasses, but here we go. You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to log in, post a pic, or change your status. You will not be able to lose yourself on the Kardashians or skip out for beer during the national anthem cause the revolution will not be socialized. The revolution will not be socialized. The revolution will not be brought to you on Twitter in 280 characters. There will be no pictures of an orange Bigfoot grabbing coochies and leading the charge by Jeff Sessions, General Kelly, and Steve Bannon to drink red-flavored Kool-Aid mixed with water from a Flint river. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Weinstein Company and not star-molested ambitions, toxic male privilege, or Ren and Stimpy. The revolution will not give you good credit. The revolution will not cure your bunions. The revolution will not make you look lighter in the mirror or make your bank account bigger. The revolution will not be on social media, brother. There will be no pictures of you and LeBron James hitting a three-pointer at the buzzer, then sliding a 60-inch flat-screen TV into a stolen ambulance on the dead run. NBC could not predict the winner on November 8, 2016, reporting from 92 precincts. Welcome to the great new world order again. The revolution will not be socialized. There will be no pictures of Colin Kaepernick throwing a 90-yard touchdown to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. There will be no movies of Marcus Garvey, Toussaint Louverture, Mary McLeod Bethune, Queen Nzinga, or Samara Michelle. Honey Boo Boo, Duck Dynasty, and The Goddamn Bachelor will no longer be so damn relevant because black people will be in the streets looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be socialized. There will be no trending stories in your news feed. There will be no trending stories in your news feed and no pictures of well-meaning philanthropists throwing money away on guilt-free trips to Puerto Rico, wearing high-heeled disaster pumps and a let-them-eat-cake type of smile, tossing paper towels. The theme song will not be sung by Miley Cyrus, Toby Keith, Kid Rock, Rachel Dolezal, or a Blue-Eyed Jesus. The revolution will not be reposted and shared on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, or Pinterest. The revolution will not go better with Cherry Coke. The revolution will not fight the germs caused by white supremacists. The revolution will not lift you into an Uber seat. The revolution will not be socialized. The revolution will not be socialized. rise. The revolution will be in your face like a can of baked, baby. Is it burning? Well, hell, now you're learning. Shout out to ODB. Appreciate it. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Yes, bringing that spirit back. You know, the struggle continues on to bring change and awareness to a younger generation and to speak our truths to this universe. With that in mind, I will tell you what, I'm going to do a couple of songs on the guitar. And the first one I'm going to do is a piece that I like to shout out to my folks overseas. I see a couple of y'all checked in. So that's for my French folks. I'm going to do a piece on your language, and we'll celebrate that and then get back to the American side. This piece
Sharrif, before you do your next set, I just want to remind everyone, if you have any questions at all that you'd like to put to Sharrif, we'll have time at the end for him to answer them, so you can just write them in the chat.
Thank you very much, Shelley. And I definitely will make time for that towards the end, and we'll do it like that. So this piece is called Mon Français Cassé, Broken French. Mon français est cassé comme la cœur des États-Unis. Donc j'espère que vous me comprenez avant que j'ai fini. Même si vous ne comprenez pas, je suis sûr que vous pouvez voir. Nous habitons dans un monde avec une nouvelle histoire. L'égalité et liberté sont devenus vieux. J'étais là quand ils étaient tués. Je l'ai vu avec mes yeux. Ce qui reste maintenant est des fous présidents. Je dis des hommes qui jouent comme des dieux. Les citoyens pleurent jusqu'à leurs larmes compliments. Mais ils ne savent pas quoi faire contre les chiens de guerre qui utilisent les télévisions comme des fusils. Mais vraiment, ils ont seulement réussi à fâcher les gens comme nous qui savent que le résultat de leur combat ne sera pas ce qu'ils croient. Je parle de moi, de Marc, de Jaco et Bouba, les artistes et les poètes et les enfants de demain. On peut mettre la monde sur un autre chemin, main à main, jour à jour. De ça, je suis sûr, je dis la haine ne peut pas gagner comme l'amour. Mon français est cassé comme la cœur des États-Unis, donc j'espère que vous me comprenez avant que j'ai fini. Mais même si vous ne comprenez pas, il y a une chose que je dois dire. Il faut qu'on vit avant que nous mourions. Shout outs to y'all on that side. I'll be over there soon in April. No doubt about that. Yes, like I mentioned, I'm broadcasting here live from Rock Mill Salon, artist home. It's a new place for us to share and create and have had a lot of fun here and a lot of bonding. A lot of magic happens here. So this piece is off of an album I recorded called The Echo Effect. So, you know, I've been fortunate to work with some of the world's greatest musicians, and I mean that literally, like from Kirk Douglas to Jeremiah Hosea to David Gilmour, Mark Gilmour, the Gilmour brothers. You know, been fortunate. Mark Carey, the keyboard player who will be featured here at the Salon soon enough. But this is a poem called Workers for the Pearls. Actually, one of my favorite pieces I wrote and I like to share. It's off of The Echo Effect, which you can also find on my website, www.SharrifSimmons.com. This piece is a bit of a journey, so I'm going to take a sip. And this piece is called Workers for the Pearl. In these right-angle rooms that imitate the square, we come to abrupt conclusions. What could be more innocent than a useless tear? It falls crashing through the vacuum of time capsules, propelling facts and myths into your fading conscience. You hold on to a passing brick wall as each red stone slips from your grip. So does the need to fit your lifelong dreams into the digits of 6. You forget to be a kind Christian, a Catholic, an atheist, a Baptist, a Muslim, a Jew. I've watched you dive naked off the platform of existence and land into the pool of being. And with your eyes closed, you float downstream. Not drowning, not speaking, not screaming, only being. Whispering softly in your ear is the pearl. Welcome, you precious spirit. Let us hold you in these golden moments. So many of us have called them poems. Keep riding your silent riverbed. You'll make it home. Home has seen hand grenades being tossed into cafes, turning silence into shaky curtains to be sacrificed on the front line. Militiamen armed with sharp teeth and MAC-10s, insisting their problems exist in urban settings. They launched a raid on public housing. 244,000 backward trackers taking the tri-borough, Manhattan, Brooklyn bridges, as ignorant as the voting masses. Their attacks camouflage their true enemy, the guiltless rich figures. Let them kill themselves, those ridiculous practices dispense. Our millions for boils and dead babies will never reach their bleeding mouths. So let them continue. And in your ear whispers the bird. What could be more innocent than a useless tear? It falls, crashing through 14 mirrors, reflecting infinite possibilities. 7 crossroads leading to 49 commandments, yet they gave you only 10, spread across TVs and pressed up on compact discs. Who are you now if not a worker for the pearl? Defiled by the diamonds as you look towards the east. Please forgive us, Blue Mother, Blackfoot, Geronimo. Please forgive us. Please forgive us, Blue Mother, Blackfoot, Geronimo. The crazy horse has run through the Midwest and has now settled on the coast. America, 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 she's shaking. Burning in the golden moments. So many of us have called them poems. Thank you very much. Hope y'all are hanging in there with me. I'm enjoying this tremendously. I appreciate sharing this work. I appreciate your ears, because that's what it all is right there. That's what we do, and I feel inspired and transcendent. My man James in the house. Speak up. Good to be sharing. So, yeah, that's Workers for the Pearl. And in there, it's a lament towards what we're doing with the earth and what we're doing with our spirits and our souls, and an acknowledgement to the land that we're living on. And those who've come before. Again, you know, our history, the very truth of our existence, not only in this land, but I think in the human condition, is now under a particular target. This idea like that you can recreate history to make other people feel good, or those who don't want to confront this truth. This is a very deep thing, and it's an individual reality and the broader reality, you know, the micro and the macro, all of those things that come into creating culture. And in Fast Cities and Objects That Burn, I mentioned there's a poem in here called Windows, and it inspired by the idea of looking through of the window of time and the importance of culture. And it starts off with the statement that culture is memory. So I like to share this from, once again, my first collection of poems that I'll be reissuing actually March 8th on my birthday. I'll have another celebration and most likely be broadcast right from here. And I'll have the new edition of this book to include new pieces and some of the same ones that are in here. So this piece is called Windows. Culture is memory, remembering, mountainside minds imagining, myth, music, magic, tradition, vision through shades of gray, melting faces, drums, wordsmith. Culture is memory, redeeming stories in cosmic mosaic, a barefoot dance through nirvana and the inferno, bittersweet soliloquy, songbirds sing symphonies, near the lakes of Ashanti to the mountains of Ntoto, rivers cutting through Nazareth and resting in Ambo. Culture is memory, a warm quilt weaved by giving mothers, streams filled with stepping stones, valleys of dry bones, amaretta moonbeams, bound papers, windows, the book of the dead, the salty taste of blue myths, echoes the seventh octave, the absence in the palms of my hands, the words don't fit in my mouth. Culture is memory, recorded in fire-born screams, recorded in digital pieces, new world distributions of revolutions, the wind circles, tracing the steps of black arts, of Dutchmen's and slaves, of homegirls and hand grenades, the shuffle of American dreamers, houses and fields, grass-covered roots and champagne drinkers, blues time soul sellers, a single thread is the remainder. Culture is memory, rhythms reaching in red veins, imagining, writing is fighting, suffering, the Renaissance de negritude, like the teachers in Timbuktu, Songhai universities to Georgetown degrees. In our stories, we keep dreams behind windows that never break. The tiger's eyes, suspicious, evergreen, ever-changing, like the birth rate of mysteries, melodies made only for high priests, fat beats moving millions like centipedes, generous griots unaffected by greed, threading the tapestry of years, the allegories of tears, witch brews and remedies, warlocks with tattooed faces, the second coming of truth, forgiving sins, water walkers return to make us pray and lead us to the open window. Give thanks, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And in that spirit of memory and commemoration, I want to give a shout out to the Mother Earth that we are now living on. You guys got me inspired, and I'm going to do a couple more pieces and maybe open it up and have a conversation with folks, something like that. I'm not sure what time it is right now. Yeah, it might be about that time. So I'm going to end with this piece, and it's dedicated to my brother Greg Tate. May rest in peace. God bless his soul. But he was a huge inspiration on me, and as he is to many people. And I want to commemorate his soul this evening, celebrate that. I'll do this thing. I'm going to read what Greg wrote in the intro of my book. I haven't read it in forever, and I thought, why not bring some of his actual words into this room with us? And then I'll end with this poem that he wrote some music for that's on my album, The Echo Effect. But Greg says, the poems of Sharrif Simmons dare us to subsist on welfare cheese, commercial crack, and the post-slavery blues. They arrive from the Armageddon laced with pheromones and a love for the boogie down. They are romantic without being innocent, bearing soul and wounds minus the cynicism of sexist revenge schemes. They are politically charged without being humorless and as authentic as a Kiss song when they have to be, which is frequently as Shaw's Long Island metalhead roots often come a-calling. A poet for the people, a poet for lovers, post-chordal and otherwise, dancers, guitar freaks, amharic dinner guests, and single-parent fathers. Sharrif is that long-tongued, long-dreaded prophet we were told to cock an ear for when things got hot. With laughter, lyricism, sarcasm, and outrage, my brother is providing us with a spirited and literate means to maintain as this mad century winds down with a vertiginous vengeance. Avoid him and his griot's grab bag of witty and vociferous verses at your own peril. Like Mama said, never forget, the vortex is watching. With Sharrif around, none dare say the whirlwind caught them napping or lacking for lyrics when it came to fax off that jailhouse Valentine. Love you, Greg. God bless, man. Said it only way Greg could put it. And with that, I'll end with this piece, Liberation to the Mother Earth. Look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars. I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars with their taxpayers' money and food in tin jars. Mother Earth killers are now on Mars. I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are trying to avoid the overdue bill of industrial overkill, hoping to make a green planet out of red clay. And if you look around, you see it's all turning to waste, from the longer winters to each tornado base. And we all play a part in the spiraling pace of fate with our styrofoam barbecues, our air-conditioned under rules, our aerosol assholes spraying acid winds behind cheeseburger blintzes. The assembly line of carcinogens, carefully crafted consumer blends of carbon monoxide and luxury rides. And you remind me of my Jeep, something like my bank account. And you, my brother, remind me of the perfect Mother Earth killer, dulled by the science of silver and gold. It was predicted that Gaia must be cleansed, and so the Mother Earth killers began. And I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars. I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars with their taxpayers' money and food in tin jars. Mother Earth killers are trying to avoid the overdue bill of industrial overkill, hoping to make a green planet out of red clay. Reaching into her heart and tearing her apart, she screams, wait, wait, as we watch along with smiles, fantasy tripping under big screen. Godzilla's coming, Godzilla's coming. Tell me, what will James Bond do when Mount St. Helen blows her top? I'll have a martini shaking, not, man, get out of here. How about a hot bath of black lava for your ass? The president's bomb shelter was swallowed by a tsunami. The space shuttle was seen trying to outrun the phoenix of retribution that gained his power from the four corners of the globe. The Hopi have deciphered the barcode. These ghettos are about to explode. I said water costs more than fruit. Water costs more than fruit, and no one's being issued a parachute. This ain't no fluke. They crossed a pig with a newt and got a Gingrich in a test tube. And I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars. I said, look past the distant stars. The Mother Earth killers are now on Mars with their taxpayers' money and food in tin jars. Mother Earth killers are now on Mars. I said, look past the distant stars. They're going, they're going, they're going, they're going, they're gone, 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 gone. Appreciate that. Thank y'all. Appreciate this time to share together. Appreciate the work, the attention. Take that one, Jeff Bezos and that whole crew, man. We see y'all. We see you coming. But anyway, thank y'all so much for the time. And let's talk a little bit. Absolutely.
Before we get into that, Sharrif, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Tom for some words of wisdom to share with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you so much, Sharrif. Wow, amazing poetry. You're like an Old Testament prophet, and we are honored to have you here with us tonight. We just want to welcome everybody to Govans Presbyterian. This is what Govans Presbyterian is. We are again honored to have people like Sharrif who offer these prophetic, transcendent truth and speak to the justice that's needed in our world today. We're an anti-racist church. We're an LGBTQ affirming church. We are Christ-centered in the sense of the universal Christ, the light within all of us, that we interpret in the Christian tradition, but honor all traditions that honor that same light. We'd love to have you get involved in other stuff at the church. Maria's putting in the chat a link to find out more about us and tell us a little bit about yourself so we can reach out to you. But welcome. Join us any Sunday, 9 a.m. or 11 on Zoom or Facebook Live, and we'd love to get connected with you and get to know you better. Thank you again, Sharrif.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sharrif, Mike says, first of all, thank you. And he wants to know what brought you back to Harlem, and is the vibe much different than 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's a little different, more businesses popping around, a little bit more activity, but the spirit of Harlem is very similar. This community is still here. I feel very welcome. My friends who have still been here, and so, yeah, it's still new. I've been back a month now, and I'm looking forward to getting more engaged into the community around me. And there's a renaissance. There's something in the air in Harlem right now. There's a renaissance happening. Renaissances take time, and they have inflection points where people just are feeling the urgency of community. They feel the urgency of collective thought and sharing, and I can feel that energy. And I feel in a way when I ask literally why I'm back here is exactly for that, that communal energy, that deep depth, and also reconnect with I feel like there was a calling. I was supposed to be here, and I moved what do they say, mountain and earth and all that good stuff to make it back home.
Well, Julie McDill loves the connections to Africa and wants to know, what do you feel you have brought back to your art?
From what I brought back from Ethiopia, in my time there, Ethiopia was highly influenced. I was much younger. I went there when I was 7. I came back when I was 14. So beyond the language that it left me with and the diversity of that part, I speak a little Amharic, speak French. I went to the French lycée there and speak a modicum amount of English. But it also allowed me a deeper appreciation for a less material view of the world that Western Hemisphere can lean itself on. I can only describe it as when I was younger, I remember distinctly not lying as much anymore. Like when I was in Ethiopia, there was a certain honesty, a certain truth to and it was about meeting that place. And I saw that contrast, and I could speak to that now, having come back and then doing my teenage years and the weight of having to fit back in to America and the things I had to adapt to. And so I'd like to say that Ethiopia allowed me a breath of honesty that I could argue say maybe I might not have achieved if I hadn't been over there. I feel like that's one thing I brought back with me.
Thank you, Sharrif. Reverend Tom would like to know, what is your writing process? Do you write every day? Do you write your words first or speak the words first and then write?
Well, I'd like to say I write every day, but I haven't quite achieved that space yet. But a lot of what you guys are hearing is driven through conversations. So I'm inspired a lot by speaking to people and being in rooms where dialogue takes place. So a lot of my work is driven by that process of sharing, and therefore I take that experience back that I feel is very human, that's at the core of our communication process, these conversations, these exchanges, that I am then allowed to take and interpret on my own. So there's that, and then, you know, a lot of my work was inspired from working at Liberation Bookstore with my aunt Una Mulzac. And while I was at Liberation Bookstore right on 131st Street, which happens to be right across the street from where I live now, right? So, you know, all of this stuff is coming full circle again. You know, Amiri Baraka, Sonia Sanchez, you know, Gil Scott, Heron, they all came into the bookstore. Amina Baraka, you know, Hakeem Adabudi and Paul Coates from Black Catholic Press. I mean, they were just, I was on the front line of a movement that was broadening my thought. John Henrik Clark and Dr. Ben. I went to SUNY College of Westbury. I did however many years of grade school and 4 years of college at SUNY of Westbury. Went to school, and I hadn't learned anything that I learned at Liberation Bookstore. I learned more in my time at Liberation Bookstore in maybe a year than I had in my entire life about the, you know, the broader selection and the true diversity of our history. Black history have been fundamentally, you know, ignored and not monetized. You know, in capitalism, it's all about value, like creating value, and that why makes Black Lives Matter such a poignant statement. Like it matters in the, you know, unfortunately, you know, a lot of our history is not part of the American ecosystem because they haven't created a value markers on that. So, you know, I feel like there's a generation that began to redefine that, and that's I'm grateful to be part of that conversation now. The growth mechanism of our, so it's not just in our in a month span. It's all encompassing and part of the literary tradition now. So yeah.
Maria kind of added on to that. And how does music kind of fit in to your process?
You know, like I said, I've been working with music, so you know, I was an avid consumer of music, and just for the audience, those who make music and who are musicians, you know, I can pinpoint the minute I went from a consumer to a producer of music. Two different constructs, both deeply appreciative in their way of approach, but I was raised on all the soul classics, and it, like Greg mentioned in the intro to Fast Cities, I also had a deep rock background, like, you know, heavy metal. Like when I went out to Long Island, got turned on to Ronnie James Dio and, like, you know, Led Zeppelin and Floyd, and I started to see the fluid connections. But to be specific, I picked up the acoustic guitar after seeing Richie Havens at a library, actually, downtown. He was doing a library gig, Richie Havens, and it just blew me out. So I saw him, and then I saw him live first, and then I watched the Woodstock concert and saw that he started the whole concert. It just blew my mind about what you can do with words and sound, and Gil Scott Heron's influence on me also. I began to see that rhythm and poetry, which is fundamentally what rap is, rhythm and poetry, but that there is a certain meaning in rhythm as much as there is in speech. And that's a goal I started to move towards.
Okay, we have one more question. Maleka, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Um, she wants to know, from your point of view, what are the takeaways from this time of crisis and upheaval to move our lives and our culture forward.
First off, Malaika, how you doing? It's a pleasure to see you. All right, all right, all right. We will be in the same room again, I'm sure, soon. Well, one, the importance of preservation, preserving, and remembrance. That is essential. And again, I have to refer back to the way in which American culture in particular tends to go through its process. It's very monetized. So it's very important for us to demonetize our motivation. Not everything has to be money. There's a certain social responsibility to being present and not always, having to achieve these often monetary gains to define influence. So I seek and I try to be as influenced by an 8-year-old as I am Snoop Dogg and the fame. We tend to speak and give credence to wealth and to success, and it's over imagined. So when I think about what are the corrective elements of how to go forward through this time of crisis, is to redefine our sense of appreciation of our history and how in which we share it amongst the community. And that's part of my motivation to be back here in Harlem, looking for that exchange on a very, so if they say, all politics is local, all culture is local also. Like, it extends from where you are and where in which you are in your community. And having said that, it's not to undermine aspirational gifts. I want as many people to know me as possible, but that doesn't keep me from doing this, being on a Zoom call in the church of folks and not having to burden myself over what money. Listen, I appreciate it if y'all are going to tip me, which I understand you do, but that is absolutely not the reason why I'm here. And so the work and all of that's going to take priority to the gains. And that's an important part of the sacrifice. And that's the sacrifice that my dear brother Greg Tate really put into my mind when I saw how he moved through the world. And that's inspired me as much as anything. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of dressing. I feel I hasn't quite hit the whole head, but something in that direction.
Well, Sharrif, thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Thank you for sharing your time and your talent with us and taking us all on this journey. I can tell you that I have just enjoyed this evening immensely, you know, and I want to thank everyone who's on the Zoom call, because you know what? You could have been anywhere else, but you made the decision to be here. Let us all to continue to send up our prayers for Leah and her rehabilitation. Just so you know, rehabilitation is hard. So she needs your prayers more than ever now.